Well, hello and welcome back to A320 Flight Sim. Good to see you again. Today we are going to do a user request video. I got a request on the page from G Couple. For those of you who know, if you've seen any of my other videos, I did a collaboration video with G Couple, and that is because that is my brother and his wife, and they have a fantastic page of their own, over 100,000 subscribers with their travel channel. They've got some amazing videos over there. Do yourself a favor and go check them out if you're interested in any kind of travel, cruises, things like that. They do a lot of great stuff. Go check it out. In the meantime, though, being my brother, of course, he wanted to challenge me with something kind of crazy. So he asked me to see if I could land at the Wancho Eurosquin, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, airport, but it's on the island of Saba. That is in the Dutch Caribbean island, by the Netherlands, of course, Dutch, yep. And it is widely acknowledged as the shortest commercial runway in the world, with a length of 400 meters, or just a shade over 1,300 feet. Now, ordinarily that's not something you try to fly an A320 into. The generally accepted runway minimum length for an A320 is 1,200 meters, would be the bare minimum, and they usually need just a little bit more than that to take off as well. I emptied my plane. I used the least amount of fuel possible. I had 0 passengers, had 0 cargo, so I tried to get my takeoff weight down as low as I possibly could to give me a hand with that, and it took me a while. The video you're going to see today, of course, is the successful landing and then the subsequent successful takeoff. However, that was about my 9th attempt at the landing, so it took me a few times to get this in there. But once I was able to land successfully, I got the plane turned around and got it off the ground the first try. So that was a good thing. I was happy about that. So let's go ahead and jump in the airplane here. We're a little ways off. You can see we have a beautiful view here of the Caribbean, but we're going to start our descent in, get it down to about 1,000 feet off the ground. We're going to get the airspeed down as low as we possibly can, and then I'll kind of walk you through the final little mile or so here of the approach. So enjoy the view here over the Caribbean, and then we'll see you here in Saba in just a second. Alright, so here we are coming into Saba now. We're just a few miles off the end of the runway at this point. We've got our flaps fully extended, we've got our gear down and lined up for that approach. At this point we're just trying to make sure that we're as slow as we possibly can. Our normal landing speed is about 120, 124 knots right in there. You can see the tiny little runway that we're aiming for there on that little point at the end. And the thing is every time I tried this, the few times I did manage to stick onto the runway, a couple times I came up short, a couple times I stuck to the runway, I ended up just going too long. And so this time I had to figure out a different way to do it because it just wasn't working, just was carrying too much speed. So remembering this is a simulator, you could not actually do this in real life. There's no way you could land this plane on this airfield in real life. But in the simulator, I thought, well, let's play with it a little bit and see what I can do to actually get this thing on this runway. So what I did is when I got close to the end of the runway there, I went ahead and cut my engines completely. Not something you would normally do, of course. But I wanted to go ahead and see if that would help me bleed off a little bit more speed. And so when I actually got wheels down there at the end of the runway, I was doing only about 100 knots at that point. Okay, so now we're really close to this final. You're going to see I'm going to slam this thing onto the ground. It is not a pretty landing, not by any shape of your imagination. We're going to put her down hard.
130.
Get it on the ground. There we go. Boom.
No reverse engine. One,
we're down. Full reverse. Full brakes. And we are going to take this thing to the end of the runway and some, off the pavement, onto the grass, and we are just a few feet short of going off the end and over that cliff. So super happy. Here's a couple little different angles of that final piece. I was amazed because you can see from that pilot view that it appears that you're just going off the edge of the cliff at that point, and I really thought when I was flying this from that pilot view that I was toast at that point and that I was going to go over the edge again. So really happy I was able to go ahead and using the reverse engines again, not realistic, but I'm going to use my reverse engines to back the plane up, and I'll get it turned around, lined back up on the runway, and then I'll show you the takeoff here. Alright, so we've got it backed up, getting those back wheels all the way up as far as I can get them onto the end of the pavement. Maybe just a shade over, but I wanted to just stay on the pavement. As you can see, I'm actually using part of the runway that we wouldn't normally use again, but again, this is a simulator and we're just trying to do what we could do. I'm actually not on the runway. Technically, the runway doesn't start until where that line up there is. We're on the end of it, and then you'll see I'm actually going to use all of the rest of it as well on the other end. We needed every inch of this thing, because when I get off to the other end, you're going to see in the one angle that the plane actually drops, and it goes pretty far down, just like kind of taking off from an aircraft carrier. So here we go. Engines all the way to the toga as far as they will go. We got out of those brakes, release the brakes, getting as much speed as we can. When I hit the end of this runway, I believe I was only about 110 knots, which is pretty low. So you can see I'll drop down, keep gaining that speed, get as much as I can. I'm at flaps 2 because I wanted that extra lift. And then now we're finally into a positive climb. All right, so I was able to finally get it up, get a little bit of airspeed going. Really picked up the airspeed here. Went ahead and retracted those gear, slicked up a little bit, went to flaps 1, and then back to flaps 0. Took the aircraft up to about 4,000 feet. Had no real interest in going on to another airfield and landing. Just wanted to see if I could get back off the ground. So pretty happy I did that on the first try. It was a little dicey there when I first started dropping down. I was getting a lot of warnings about terrain and about making sure that I was getting the plane up in the air. It was yelling at me quite a bit, so that's okay. But it was another successful takeoff and landing. Thank you to, again, G-Couple for suggesting this to me and to the world's smallest commercial airport. And again, this is that time where we just say thank you for liking and subscribing. If you can hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, so I appreciate it. Right before I posted this video, we hit our 500th subscriber, so thank you so much for all of that. And if you know anybody who would enjoy one of these sim videos, go ahead and share the page with them. And as always, if you have any ideas for a place you'd like to see me fly into or out of, or maybe a city pair that you'd like to see some highlights for, again, drop me a comment. I love doing the videos from viewer requests. So thank you once again for supporting A320 Flight Sim, and have a great day.